Hey, this is Kevin from HackFab RC. Today I wanted to show you a little bit of our product line, mainly the new V2 EDM and mini late model conversion for the Losi Mini-T 2.0. So here in front of us we have kind of the progression of our product line. Here you can see the stock Mini-T 2.0. Here's our version 1 EDM kit. This is our version 1 late model kit. This is basically the same chassis. I'll get to that in a minute, but basically this has an additional rear body mount extension as well as an added front bumper to allow you to mount this type of body over this one. And then lastly we have our new V2 conversion, and that'll be the main one that we focus on, but I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of history on our conversions and showcase them a little bit. So I'll start with the EDM kit. Well, I'll show you this first. If you're not familiar with the Mini-T 2.0, this is it right here. It's a 1/18 scale 2-wheel drive stadium truck by Losi. Here's what it looks like. It's an aluminum chassis, 2-wheel drive, mid-motor, suspension car, and it's a neat little truck. So the reason behind coming out with this other kit was we really liked the mini late model in the 2010s. We raced them a lot. It was really competitive. It was probably the funnest time I've ever had RC racing. So I wanted to bring that back, late model and the EDM. The EDM is actually what we used to run a lot of. This is a Kips Hobbies EDM body for the mini late model. We made the HackFab conversion to work with that exclusively because he still made that. But this is our version 1 of the HackFab conversion, and it used a G10 chassis. It was kind of a hybrid. What we would do is take the stock truck and then cut the chassis and use the stock kick-up angle for the kick-up of this chassis, and we strengthened it with a little Y brace. Overall, it's a very stiff car. It's a little bit heavy because you have to use such thick material here to accommodate that cut chassis kick-up. Basically, it has a lip that overlaps there, so it's a little bit thick to accommodate for that. So then we came out with our front bumper mount. This was universal to you can use it for this spoiler in the front, or you can mount an optional front bumper like on one of these cars to run it as late model. This was our original rear body mount, and we made an extension for these bodies because it didn't quite line up, and plus we wanted it a little bit wider and a little bit stiffer. But with the limitations of 3D printing and the materials, we wanted to kind of make that kind of short so it wouldn't have a lot of flex. We've since changed materials on that, so it's a lot stronger now. We're using a carbon fiber infused polycarbonate, which has a very high temperature resistance and high strength level, so there shouldn't be any issues with warping or anything like that. But basically, that's our version 1 car. This is also a version 1 car. I'll show you this late model. So this is basically the same exact car. The only difference is we had interchangeable battery trays. We went from short, the stock one, to a long one that would allow you to run upwards of 1500, 1700 milliamp 2S lipos. I suppose you could run a 3S if you really wanted to. But then, see that it goes in there, it fits nice, and you just use some strapping tape to hold it in. But this is my brushless car. This thing absolutely hooks around the carpet track I tried it at, and like I said, it's the same car. We just have the body extension and the front bumper on there. But enough about the V1 car. We're not here to talk about that today. So I want to kind of showcase a little bit of where we were and then get to where we are. So this is the new V2. This body was originally on this car, so it's like a dead drop in as far as body mounts. If you have a V1 car, your V2 car, if you upgrade, we're having a little bit of a discount. If you have an original V1 and you want to upgrade to a V2, just message us, we'll shoot you a coupon. But anyways, this is the V2 car, so it's completely different than the V1 in terms of material type and the kick up in the front. So we went from G10 fiberglass to 2.5 millimeter carbon fiber precision cut, and we've gotten rid of the need to cut stock chassis kick up and instead have a kick up wedge, very similar to some of the other stuff we've done in the past, like the bumper mount. It's a little bit based on that to get the angle right. It's got the same angle kick up built in that we had in the stock chassis, except this just mounts to the top of the chassis here, and then your bulkhead just mounts to that. So that allows you to get the factory kick up angle, or very close to it. Running a one-piece chassis, and it's all carbon fiber now. There was a pretty big demand for that. A lot of people like the G10, but yeah, obviously carbon fiber has that cool look that everyone likes. So we wanted to, go that route for the V2, since we have a lot less limitations with having to build in that lip. The chassis is a little bit thinner. We went from like a 3 mil to a 2.5 thickness, and you get away with that because we don't need that lip. So that's pretty much the basis behind why we did that. We wanted to make it a little bit simpler, so you don't need to cut the chassis. It's a little bit better material, it's lighter, it's stronger, it's stiffer, and in the end it's a little bit cheaper because we end up needing a little bit less parts. We don't need to make this upper brace because the car is very stiff with the carbon fiber, and the only reason we added this originally was to kind of prevent like with a front end collision, breaking that lip off where the original kick up meets the new chassis. But we don't have to worry about that in the V2, so pretty sure we can get away with not needing that upper brace. So it cleans up the chassis area quite a bit, and allows for a lot of different electronic mounting options. One thing that we did improve, and this was some of the delay on the coming out of the V2, is we're originally going to keep our modular battery tray system with the stock pack tray and the long pack tray. If you saw our website, we were selling prototypes that we had of that. Ultimately, we decided we could probably come up with a simpler solution that involved less printing of parts, and we came out with this battery bracket, if you want to call it, hold-in system with a Velcro strap. So that allows you to use the stock pack as well as like this one, because there are several adjustment holes that you can move that back bracket to accommodate whatever length LiPo you have. So we did a bunch of research, and anywhere there are several packs between this size and this size, anywhere in between. I think this is around 90 millimeters long, a little shy of 35 millimeters wide. So these will accommodate anything up to 35 millimeters and up to 88, 90 millimeters in length. So there's a tremendous amount of adjustability there depending on what battery you want to run. Some people are talking about making a class out of these at their local track. So, you know, you can use the stock pack, which will do fine in the stock setup. It's a little bit slow, but you know, and it allows the same chassis kit's going to allow you to just move that bracket with 2 screws. The same strap will work. You know, get a $15 1500 milliamp 2S lipo, and you can get the $40 Hobby Wing easy run setup. They have 18 turn 5200 kV. It's like 40 bucks, and it's really fast on this, and I think that's probably what most people are going to end up doing after they run it stock. They also have a 7800 kV you could run, which will then just make this ballistic. But anyways, so basics behind the V2, like I said, you know, we went with a single plate chassis. You end up running the kick-up wedge in here, and the way that the modern buggies stack their bulkhead and pivot block and such, the chassis kind of gets wedged between you know, the lower bulkhead and the pivot block there. So what we ended up doing was creating a spacer that mimics the chassis thickness from the factory chassis. So that just goes in there between there to keep everything stock geometry within that bulkhead configuration. And like I said, the 4 screws hold the kick-up wedge onto the chassis, and then we just, you know, for late model version, we have the extended body mount and the front bumper, and those just bolt on to the rear body mount and just the front of the chassis. We're using aluminum screws here, just the same concept we have like with carpet pan car racing. You know, create a weak point, so hopefully those will shear off if you have a really hard hit before it breaks the chassis or it breaks the bumper or something like that. So that's the premise why those are aluminum, and hopefully it works out that way. I don't have a whole lot of front end collisions, so you guys can let me know if you end up breaking something. The chassis thickness and the thickness of the kick-up wedge raises the front end a little bit from the chassis, so we have to use some chassis brace spacers here. They're basically a little tic-tac looking block, and we'll show you those in the instruction video and how those will install, but it's pretty simple. And other than that, that's it. I mean, this is, like I said, this is the new V2 car, and we have it in store now. You can run it. There's 2 different options in the store. You have the basic EDM and late model kit, which does not include the rear body extension or the bumper mount. That way it's cheaper, and you can run just this chassis as like you can run that as the Eastern Dirt Modified that I showed you earlier. That will fit. You end up running your 2 front body posts right here, so that way it's like in the middle of the upper deck on the body, and then these stock holes right here for the body mount are more than adequate for the little EDM body. And then there's also a ton of other McAllister Racing mini late model bodies that you can run that will fit this wheelbase. They have the NASCAR, they have a nastruck, they have like a Midwest modified, 55 Chevy. There's like some street stock options like a Mustang and a Monte Carlo, and a variety of others. And this kit will work for all of those. And on the original page for the V1 kit, I have a kind of like a page of demonstrations on the different body options, or body mounting options rather. So it depends on the body, but you can run the posts right off of the front bumper area so you don't need the front bumper for most of those. Some, like I think the Monte Carlo, it can benefit from having the front bumper. The late models obviously benefit from having the front bumper. The late models, you really do need this body mount extender to get that further back behind the rear window area. But I mean, this car, if you're running oval, it has a lot of body options. If you're looking for something unique, fun, you want to do a NASCAR class, you know, that option is here. Just go visit that page. We have the whole guide on how they fit. One thing I want to mention is this is kind of my pre-production car, fully optioned. I put the Losi aluminum shocks on here. I'm going to be ditching this for another brushless system like that one, but I do have our carbon fiber wide towers mounted on here. So we came out with a wide front tower. You can see that. Basically adds 2 more holes to the stock tower. Stock tower only has 2 holes. This one has 4. So we've got 1 extra outer hole and 1 extra inner hole, so allow more adjustability. And then the same with the rear. Actually, the rear has 2 more outer holes and 1 more inner hole. And it's specifically designed for our rear body mount, because most of the people that want that type of adjustability are going to be oval racers. You know, it just uses the stock 2 holes here. You know, it's the same 2 holes that are in the factory rear shock tower. You know, there is like a 3D printed option if you want to run these the factory style body posts here, but those aren't going to fit a lot of the mini late model bodies. But we do have a standard option tower that's a little bit narrower. It does add 1 more hole on the inside. In fact, I have one here. So there's that. That will fit the stock stadium truck body, you know, within here. So the other one's just a bit too wide, so it won't work. But so there's 2 options for this tower in the store. We have a stock one if you want to run it with a stock truck, or you don't need adjustability or whatever. And there's an option to get those, like a 3D printed body post that will bolt to that if you don't want to use this one. But I'll get into that in another video. But yep, that's pretty much the basics with our V2 car. Like I said, this is in late model configuration. You know, it'll work for late model EDM, NASCAR, nastruck, any of the original mini late model style bodies, and I'm sure there's more out there that it'll work with. But if you have any questions, post them in the comments. I look forward to hearing from you, and we're excited to finally get this thing to market and hopefully to a racetrack near you. Thanks.